Hi and welcome to WoW Flash. This is my weekly news segment on anything to do with Warcraft from the past 7 days that's of interest to my channel. And of course we've had the raid of Tomb of Sargeras opening, so big news there. It's a little belated, this one. I usually aim to do it a little bit earlier, but just like last week I was holding on just in case there are any class balancing notes going up there. Doesn't look like they're going up today. They are busy with the AMA. More details about that at the end of the video though, along with the streaming news. Now, quick note about Twitter first of all, in that I have now separated my personal Twitter from the Thete Gaming one. That basically means I've made a new Thete Gaming Twitter, which is actually Twitter/Thete Gaming. No, twitter.com/Thete Gaming. It's there anyway somewhere. So if you're following me on the old one now, I'm not really going to use that for World of Warcraft stuff anymore. I'm going to use the new one, so you might want to follow me on the new one instead. Next thing is about the Argus cinematic. So I did a video on this one earlier in the week, and lots of varied responses. In fact, so much so that if I do the mailbox this weekend, I might have to do a separate one just for this. However, there were a select few who think, no, you've got it all wrong, it's just a portal. Rubbish. I'm an astrophysicist. I know a planet in orbit around another planet when I see one. When someone in your realm kills Kil'jaeden now, you will get to see Argus hanging there in the sky, leading the way forward to 7.3, which is where we go to Argus. Looks to me a much shorter journey than it was going to look for a while. The other thing is state of play with heroic Tomb of Sargeras, just to bear in mind for those who are maybe newish to the raiding scene. You don't see, like in terms of the guild races, there isn't really one this reset. You sometimes get some guilds who want to go the world first heroic, obviously that's gone now, and they'll put all their efforts into doing that. The real race is the Mythic race. That begins next week. So you wouldn't expect to see the usual suspects blasting it this week for Heroic, because they have got two more important things to do than finishing quickly. And that is to load up as much gear as they can on their characters. So that means many split runs. It also means to finalise the details of how the Heroic mechanics work, at least. Obviously, there's new mechanics for Mythics. But on PTR, you don't really get to test a properly finished boss. Well, in the Heroic week, you do. So for timings for certain things, because this is always the big difference. Like when people do Mythic, sometimes where people wipe more than they probably should on a Mythic boss, it's because they're actually wiping to Heroic mechanics, which you should have learned the week before. Or indeed, you know, when you were doing Heroic up to get into that boss on Mythic. Obviously, the top guilds don't make silly mistakes like that. They'll want to know what the timings are, blah, 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 blah. Make sure they've got all the weak auras set up so that they are certainly not going to fall to heroic mechanics and just have to deal with the mythic mechanics. Class performance again, take with a pinch of salt this week. So what Blizzard had already made some class changes just before Tomb of Sargeras came out. They announced them last Friday, but they only came live this reset. There will be another lot. Again, it makes no sense to bring out the patch a week early, and then, of course, they bring out normal and heroic before Mythic. That helps them to do some last-minute tuning. They really want to make sure it's right for the Mythic. So you would expect those. They're not out today. As I said, they wouldn't necessarily have to be out today. I mean, they're not going to make the changes until the reset anyway, so they may well be finalising some of those. But I would strongly suggest that there are going to be some changes still being announced on Monday sometime. From the point of view of Europe, it'd be quite late at night, I would have thought, because it's probably going to be at close of play on Monday in California. But yeah, take it with a pinch of salt in terms of how things have been doing this week. The other thing you could bear in mind is you've got to look at some guilds, even including ours this time round, blimey, who are doing split runs. You can look at some class performances and think, because they're played on, like, I was playing a Beastmaster Hunter, which I don't really play well at all. So that I'm obviously doing my bit to make Beastmaster Hunter's damage look really bad. And you might find that some classes tend to be played as alts more frequently than others, and maybe their numbers sort of look lower. So there's all sorts of weird things that I suppose Blizzard will have to pick through when they, you know, you can't just use the statistics graph and go, oh, look, this class is really low down. Blizzard, I suppose, have to pick through that and try and work out exactly what's going on. Legendary Quest has been improved. The way it initially launched was a travesty. I thought they were going to be making all these improvements. They said that with the legendary quest is why, what I mean by that is the one where you get the essence to upgrade your 940 legendaries to 970. Or if you had one line in your bags on 910 still, then that goes straight to 970 as well. Now, the way it worked the last time this was brought in is you had to get a quest first. So if you did any content that awarded the special items you have to collect, which is called Withered Essence this time round, you missed out on them if you didn't have the quest. If you got all the ones you needed, then when the quest completed and you carried on doing content that awards them, you didn't get any extra. And you couldn't just go back and do that content again. It was like, you've done that content, and that's it, you've lost it. So there was a lot of wastage last time. Now that was supposed to be knocked on the head this time, but in actual fact, what was happening is, sure enough, people were able to complete more than the 50 that they wanted, but they went to turn them in and lost a lot. Someone was reporting they had 55 of these Withered Essence, went to the quest guy to turn them in, and all 55 went. So they've changed it now. So how it works now is it's not a quest item as such anymore. It's a currency. So you're getting this currency. You still have quests with it, but you have this currency and you only need to spend the 50 you need. It also means that you're going to get, if you don't already know, you can get it now from doing your daily heroic dungeon. That will award you 5. So you can potentially get 5 per day. That's 35 in a week if you do your daily heroic. So even without doing any raid content, as long as you do like 1 mythic plus a week and in your daily dungeons, heroic dungeons, 1 a day, then you can get enough for that to upgrade 1 legendary a week without anything else. So that's quite handy, and it does mean, again, it's another source of Withered Essence for those who do raids as well. Now, speaking of legendaries, I still don't have any of the new ones having dropped. I keep seeing people going, oh, I've got the new legendary. I've witnessed people getting new legendaries really quickly on, and I saved up so many caches. I must have done now 20 odd caches from both the Broken Shore and Emissary caches, and I'm thinking, I'm beginning to wonder if it's guaranteed. There was me thinking, oh, it's guaranteed. The first 2 weeks you're bound to get a new legendary. I'm not. What's going on? I don't know. Anyway, just to finish off about the AMA before I talk about my streaming. So on Reddit, and I'll put a link down below, Blizzard at this very moment are answering questions on classes. Obviously, I'll just warn you, you're free to obviously put your own questions there, and they may well answer them. Blizzard may well ignore such questions on, why have you done this rubbish thing? So try and phrase it in like a constructive way. Obviously, I strongly suspect they're not going to be tackling questions that basically say, this thing is a load of rubbish, isn't it? What are you going to do about it? Because they may not agree it's a load of rubbish. Or even if they do, they're hardly like to say, yeah, do you know what? It's a load of rubbish, isn't it? What are we playing? We've got no idea what we're doing. So that's not like to work. But you can go on there. The other thing is that MMO Champion and Wowhead are both sort of publishing, like, they're filtering the answers and publishing them by category. So you'd also be able to check it out later. I will be doing that later as well. I may well, if there are enough interesting comments raised on any category that I'm interested in, do a video about it myself where I'll discuss that. But we'll wait and see on that one. In terms of streaming this week, the usual 3 are going to apply. So I'm going to be streaming some Elder Scrolls Online for 2 or 3 hours tomorrow afternoon. That's Saturday, 3 PM UK time. Tuesday, as usual, the Tuesday Talk, where we can talk about anything World of Warcraft related. It's very likely to be Tomb of Sargeras, I would have thought. By which time, hopefully, I'll have my ahead of the curve. I bloody well hope so. I'm sure we will. And that's 7 PM UK time. That goes on for about 2 hours, just usually a little bit over. And then on Wednesday, I will be streaming the raid again. I have taken to the last few weeks streaming raids. It's always a bit funny, that one. I am free to talk on it. I'm generally doing ones that are not like super hard progress mythic. It's sort of more your heroic and your farm and stuff like that. So I am streaming on Wednesdays for our raid. So if you want to watch, you can. It's the only time you'll ever see me get to do any World of Warcraft gameplay at the moment, anyway. And for those who are interested, there will be another Retribution Paladin Q&A. I do those every so often, but I don't know when the next one is. It will be in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Should we put it that way as well? So thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.